Most coaches burn out before they break through. And that is the cold, hard truth about working in sport, professional sport, and making a career for yourself. Welcome back to the Sound Important podcast. Today we're going to get pretty deep, pretty nasty, pretty dirty, and I'm going to tell you the story about my transition and how I ended up to where I am today. Six-figure earner, year on year, equity owner in gyms, multiple different businesses running and having a great time doing it. And that's the big thing. Keep challenging yourself straight off the bat. Just keep challenging yourself. That's a huge thing that I want you to bring to the table here. So when we think about what does it mean to break through as a coach, when I first started as a strength and conditioning coach, I wanted to be the guy that was presenting at the UKSCA, the UKSCA Coach of the Year. I wanted to hold these massive, be at the seminars of the NCAA and CSCS and, be that big head honcho within the small world that it is. And I did. I've built a name for myself. I've built a trustworthy reputation, which is what I want, my desire, and known for helping people. I've got a massive passion for speed, and from playing sport myself, I know how wrong we have it in team sports, and our players suffer because of it, which is a bit of a mission for me to keep working on and try to make a living out of it as well. But there's also this other part of the work that I do is helping coach go from being stuck in that small little echo chamber of ours and giving something more, because what actually breaking through means is realizing how small our community is and knowing that there is a much wider world out there. And there are such limiting beliefs and false beliefs within the strength and conditioning community around money, around self-worth, around opportunity, around possibility, because we are absolutely smashed in the face by the delusion of a tracksuit and a badge and telling your friends. The social status of working in professional sport vastly outweighs the reward of actually working in it. And I can say that from being there, and I do believe that. At certain parts of my career, I would have argued that it was so worth everything. Now, absolutely not. I mean, I've been coaching for 20 years, and I was coaching for 5-6 years before I even got into pro sport. And I ended up exactly where I meant to be. And so kind of what happened for me is I was, if you don't know the long and the short of it, is actually I was trying to become a professional rugby player. I was playing for Henley Hawks in the national leagues, and I had to drive to my first university, which was Oxford Brookes. So I did it. I went there so I could go to training on the way home. And then I broke my leg, so I had to drop out of uni. Rugby dream was sort of over. I was getting looked at by teams. The day I broke my leg, the man who actually hired me in Wasps Academy came to scout me to play for Wasps in the senior academy setup, which was the under-21s at that time. Which, I got a pat on the back, which tells me that I was kind of good enough. I was good enough for a chance. But then I qualified as a personal trainer through a government-funded course, which was 7 weeks in a classroom as a gym and a gym instructor as well. You had to do these stuff in a classroom back then, not a weekend shithouse courses that they do now. And then I was coaching, and long and the short of it, made my way as a started the Brunel Rugby Strength and Conditioning Program, which Ealing ended up acquiring. I was actually working for Ealing when they acquired the program with Gareth Rice, great guy. But that was me. I started it. The players were paying me 20 quid per term. 40, 50 players all paying me 20 quid. It worked out all right for me. And the deal there was that it's a student loan anyway. It's not your money. Well, they're paying it back now, as we all know, but it was great. And then through dogmatic attitude, I managed to get in front of James Smith, and he was the one that opened the door into Wasps and stuff like that. But I was still working. I had this business. I knew how to hustle. I wanted to go get my money I decided I wanted to make strength and conditioning a living before I even knew that you could work in pro sport. And that was helping people. So, but what happens along the way is you start to, as you're kind of looking to transition, and my big transition, my first one, unfortunately, 2015, my brother passed away tragically at Christmas, and that was a big challenge. And I had resigned from Wasps in the October prior to that because I knew I wasn't being met there. I knew my needs weren't being served. I knew I wasn't being looked after. And I knew that actually I could make money. I can actually make money coaching anyway. So why do I need to be here if I'm not happy? And I was miserable. It was a horrible culture, toxic culture. I was bullied. It wasn't good. Some of the players were amazing, and I'll just leave it at that. And then, the following summer, I ended up going to Ealing for 2.5 years. I got fired there as well. And it's, sometimes when you have opinions, sometimes when you put players first, people don't like that. And then you end up out of the job with a payout. I was 6 months into a new 2-year extension, which was crazy. And I'm glad I lost that. I'm glad it did everything for me because I was building the business alongside it, outside it, continuing. And that's my biggest mission for you. You break through by working. You do your job, but then you got to do your next bit outside your job, just a couple of hours a week to get yourself there. And what I want to bring to the table now for you really is, you're so good. Okay, this is what I've in the last 6 years, I've worked with over 60 coaches on this stuff. And what coaches are, they are so good at structure. They're so good at organization because we can structure training programs, we can structure schedules, we can keep to time, we can do all these things. We're so good at it, but we can't do it to ourselves. We're really, really bad time managers. We're poor implementers. We expect our athletes to follow our programs, but we can't follow a program ourselves. And if you think about it, how long was the last time you stuck a program out without being too tired, burnt out, or just getting distracted by something else and not actually seeing the process through? So you need to really be firm on your structure if you want to break through and build a business, because breaking through is all about legacy. Breaking through is about your family. You may be 21, 22 listening to this podcast. The thing hits you in the fucking face when you can't buy a house. My first property was a boat. I lived on a houseboat for 3 years and I paid 60 grand. I sold it for 88 grand after doing it up, a little cameo in George Clark's Amazing Spaces. And then I bought a house, and then I bought my second house, and I rent that house out and working on other bits and bobs. But when the bank manager comes and says you can't buy a house because you work in sport and you don't make enough money, then it's like, well, I can't be an adult in the real world. And I need to be an adult. I want to be a successful partner. I want to have pride in what I do. And I work in professional sport. I work in professional sport, and I can't even live in a fucking house. Excuse me, but I can't even buy a house. It smacks hard, and that's such a important element of what you do and what we do that we need to understand. So you have to learn that there is a bigger world out there, and it will come and get you if you are not prepared for it. And secondly, boundaries in professional sport are so blurred. There are no such thing as boundaries in professional sport because you're meant to be on the clock 24/7 because you do it for the love. Well, hang on a minute. What about my fucking downtime? What about my life? What about my personal experience? What about my hobbies? What about all the other things that you don't pay me enough money for to sacrifice just because some other person will take my job? You have to have firm boundaries, and boundaries are founded in values. And values are not a buzz term that you sit in the front of every pre-season saying, what are our team values? And then so-and-so gets sacked. This guy gets transferred in, cool, great values, well done. Doesn't really work like that. Sports a business, and it's in a winning business. So what you need to do is understand what you truly value. Do you value your personal time? Do you value your space, your freedom? What do you value? And you set boundaries around it. The first thing you can do is turn off notifications on your phone, turn off WhatsApp notifications. One time, my boss called me at 5 o'clock in the morning on the day off because he couldn't find the key to the supplement room. 5 o'clock in the morning on my day off. I turned my phone off. Every night since then, I used to be those people who kept my phone on. Now I turn my phone off at 6 o'clock at night, and then don't turn it on till at least 7:30 in the morning. And that helps me around boundaries, about it's personal invasion of privacy, and then that combines with structure. So if you've got boundaries, you've got structure. You go, right, I need my accumulation phase. I'm going to try and start a business. I need to make contacts, connections. I need to build. I need to amass knowledge, and so I need my structured time for that. And then focus. You pick one. Set principle, specific adaptation to imposed demands. Focus on one thing and move that needle and do it really, really well. There's a great book called The One Thing. Here's the general premise to save you the time from reading it. Guess what? Focus on one thing and then let compounding happen against that. The amount of coaches go, oh, I'm going to start a new program. I've got to do an offer. I've got a low, I've got a medium, I've got a high, I've got 3 payment options. I've got this, I've got that. And then I turn around and say, do you actually have anyone paying you? No. So shut up. Do one thing. Focus on one thing, okay? And then, the mistakes that you can make, as I said to the beginning, I was trying to copy the big names that I saw. You got these guys, watching them at doing conferences, and what you don't realize is they're broke. They're actually broke. They've got no money. They're doing it for free. I spoke for free. I spoke for no money or hardly any expenses. It used to cost me money to go places. I had a professional team telling me that they would not pay me my travel expenses to go from the south of London, south coast of England to the Midlands, and they wouldn't pay my expenses. I didn't go, let alone the fee that I wanted. Okay, so don't make those mistakes. Don't try and emulate what you think is success. To find what success is for you. And for me, it was financial freedom. Being self-employed, being out on your own, being a renegade, avenger, expendable kind of individual. You can have that freedom, and you should have that freedom. Okay, and the easiest way to do it is by building simple systems. Just to finish off here, simple systems. Speaking of systems, I actually have the notes for my podcast right on the screen next to me because I have a system of the way that I want to deliver these solo episodes. Super simple. And I'll be honest with you, it's systems driven story, and I want to engage with you. I want you to lean in and listen hard. So if you want it, you can get it. You can get it. And if you've got the right kind of side hustle that fuels you and doesn't drain you, then you're onto it. Don't add more coaching hours on top of coaching hours. I did that 60-hour weeks. Don't do that. You will burn out. Okay. And I've been there and I've done that. So big lessons here today on this episode of the podcast. Share this with your friends. Send it around. I know you may be in a pro club trying to make a move and you don't want the head coach to know you're sort of doing something on side. They're watching your social media. Start an unbranded page. Don't put your name on it. Just start something, or start having conversations with people, okay? And tell them. The amount of players that I've worked with that don't put on social media, you don't need evidence for, is crazy. And the amount of coaches that just need to add that step. And also, if a club is anti you trying to enhance yourself, make a name for yourself, and they don't like it, well, here's 2 words for them: fuck them. There we go. Stay tuned for the next episode.